Welcome to Tales from South Florida with Bill Monty. If you love digging into the roots of South Florida's towns, make sure you like, subscribe, or follow, and visit Talesfromsouthflorida.com for more stories like the one we will tell today. Because today, we're setting our time machine for a journey into the history of Hollywood, Florida, how it began, who built it, and how it turned from palmetto, scrub, and marshland into one of Broward County's most beloved beachside cities that just happens to be celebrating its 100th birthday. So happy birthday, Hollywood! And now, cue the music.
These are the tales from South Florida for you, with your host, Bill Monty.
If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that I grew up in South Florida, specifically in Hollywood, Florida. We moved here in the mid-'60s, and Hollywood, even today, in some places, is very much like it was back then. Yes, the population has grown significantly. The buildings have changed, some of the great places that we used to go to, but I can still go down the streets that I played in when I was a child. And the houses basically are looking the same. The areas are not changed dramatically. If you recall, a few episodes back, I interviewed a filmmaker named Joseph Greco. Joe grew up here in South Florida. Specifically, he grew up in Hollywood and went on to make a movie about growing up. It's called Canvas. I think you can find it on Apple TV if you'd still like to see it. And I'll put a link in the show notes if you haven't heard that interview so you can go back and listen to it. But Hollywood has inspired so many people. Joe made a movie about growing up here. People have written about it. Other folks create Facebook pages devoted to it. I created a podcast about it. But the story of Hollywood, it really begins in the early 1920s. That's when a man named Joseph Wesley Young, Jr. arrived in South Florida. Joseph Young, he was a real estate developer who had lived in California and elsewhere, envisioned more than just another beach town. He imagined a full-fledged, planned community, wide boulevards, elegant architecture, lakes and parks, a business district, and a beachfront resort worthy of the Atlantic. He bought up vast tracts of land that was once pine forest, palmetto thickets, marshes, and even tomato farms, and he began to lay out what he called fittingly Hollywood by the Sea. By design, the city would include features many coastal Florida towns lacked: public beach access, a main boulevard leading straight to the ocean, man-made lakes, recreation spaces, homes, and hotels. You know, I remember when we moved here, driving down that stretch of road on Hollywood Boulevard between Young Circle and heading towards the beach. And the palm trees that were it looked like the opening to the Beverly Hillbillies, if you remember that old TV show. Huge palm trees lined each side of the road. And as you got closer and closer, you saw the Grand Hotel, the Hollywood Beach Hotel at the end. It really was something spectacular. And driving down that the first time in the car with my family, I always loved that view and that scene. In 1925, on November 28th, the dream became official for Joseph Young. Hollywood was incorporated, and he became its first mayor. Young's plan was ambitious and stylish. The residential and commercial sections were laid out with broad boulevards, landscape traffic circles, and great architecture. Many in the Mediterranean Revival or California-inspired styles, and that Mediterranean-inspired styles we've talked about in previous episodes in the Gilded Age series that we did, that was brought in by Addison Meisner and other people. His own mansion, which was built in 1925 on Hollywood Boulevard, still stands. It's listed on the National Register of Historic Places as the Joseph Wesley Young House. On the eastern edge, right on the Atlantic, Young built a grand beachfront hotel that was meant to be the crown jewel of his seaside city plans. That hotel, that I mentioned previously, was the Hollywood Beach Hotel, and it anchored what would become the Beach District. Young also ensured that, unlike some private resorts, the beachfront would remain public. He laid out plans for what he called a Broadwalk, a spacious paved beachfront promenade that would eventually stretch for miles along the ocean. That vision laid the foundation for today's Hollywood Beach Broadwalk, a 2.5-mile brick-paved oceanfront promenade lined with shops, condos, restaurants, and a relaxed beach vibe that draws locals and visitors alike. And boy, that's still the big controversy, isn't it? Is it Boardwalk or Broadwalk? Well, the Boardwalk's in Atlantic City. The Broadwalk is in Hollywood, Florida. But the path to all of this wasn't always smooth. The mid-1920s Florida land boom came to a crashing halt. In 1926, just after Hollywood was incorporated, a major hurricane struck, causing severe damage to the fledgling city. Reports at the time ranked Hollywood second only to Miami in storm-related losses. After that, the economic crash and shifting fortunes led many such developments to falter. Joseph Young faced financial difficulties. He died in 1934, still relatively young, no pun intended. Despite those setbacks, residents who stuck it out kept the dream alive. Small but determined groups helped rebuild, keeping community institutions like public library, local businesses going through the hard times. After World War II, Hollywood began a new chapter. Returning veterans and families attracted by warm weather, affordability, and coastal living helped fuel a population boom. Subdivisions, infrastructures, schools, hospitals, all of these grew rapidly. Over the decades, Hollywood evolved from a seasonal resort town into a permanent home for thousands. At the same time, it retained its coastal charm and beauty, balancing residential life with beachside leisure. Today, Hollywood blends the fun of a beach resort with the soul of a community. On one side, you have the Broadwalk and the beachfront, and that's a magnet for tourists and seasoned visitors searching for ocean breezes, sunshine, and laid-back vibes. On the other side is the city's downtown, often called historic downtown Hollywood. It pulses with culture, arts, and community life. Restaurants, galleries, boutiques, music festivals, art walks, and a lively nightlife all coexist in the shade of century-old trees and historic buildings. Historic homes, such as the Hammerstein House, which was built in 1935, are preserved as reminders of the city's early years and architectural ambition. You know, talking about the downtown area, again, when I was a kid, we would go down there. There was Betsy and Billy's, which was where you went if you were a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout to get your uniforms and all the accoutrements that went with being a Boy Scout or Cub Scout, whatever it might be. All the shops were small businesses, small business owned. People would go down there and you knew them, the owner by name. They would remember you every time that you came in, whether you needed a suit or dress or shoes or hardware. Whatever it might be, you went to downtown. Now, of course, this was before the explosion of malls, which kind of did in Hollywood for a long time, but it became a place for community. Now, we lived west of the downtown area in Hollywood. We were out by 72nd Avenue in Hollywood, so right by the Boulevard Heights Elementary School, if you know that area, kind of close to the North Perry Airport, too. So when we went down to downtown Hollywood, it was for a specific reason. But it was always kind of fun to go down there. It was very much old Florida charm. Young Circle was a fun place to go. You had the bandshell even back then. You'd stop in for a lunch or breakfast perhaps at the old Rainbow Diner. You had Moy's Chinese right on the Circle there. You had the Publix. You had the home building with wholesome bread, I believe, was baked there. All of that just defined Hollywood and downtown Hollywood. If you went either way on US 1, you had the mom and pop motels. You had, again, some of the family-owned restaurants and shops and businesses. All of that kind of changed. For a while, downtown Hollywood became kind of run down, kind of sad. I mentioned before I worked in a couple of the shoe stores in the downtown Hollywood area. You, of course, had Hemingway's, the wonderful, wonderful restaurant. I did a whole episode about that. I'll put that in the show notes, too, a link to that episode. So you had all of this historic stuff. But when we went back down there to see the movie Canvas, when I was interviewing Joseph Greco, I was amazed at how much downtown Hollywood has changed. It's sparkling, it's vibrant, it's beautiful. I thought it was just really great. And if you are someone who wants to enjoy a nightlife, boy, you have got a great place that you can go in downtown Hollywood. All told, Hollywood's journey from the wilderness to dream city to seaside suburb reflects the wild ambition of Florida land booms and the resilience of communities that made their homes there. It's a prime example of a planned city. It's laid out with intention, not just a haphazard sprawl, and that idea helped shape later development across South Florida. It's still a mix of resort-style beachfront and permanent residential resort industries. It's a living town, and it mirrors the broader South Florida transformation that occurred after World War II. Through all of its ups and downs, hurricanes, booms, and busts, Hollywood has endured. That endurance speaks to the optimism and the grit of the early settlers and the post-war families alike. So there you have it, the origin story of Hollywood, Florida. Not quite a Marvel superhero story, but a great story still the same. From palmetto scrubs and dreams to boulevards, beachfront promenades, and a living, breathing city with a soul, I hope this walk through time has given you a new appreciation for the layers beneath the sunshine and the sand. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you like and subscribe and head over to Talesfromsouthflorida.com for more episodes that explore the towns, the people, legends, places that shape our little corner of the Sunshine State. Thanks for taking this talk down memory lane with me, and until next time, keep the stories alive, be safe, and be kind.
Let's take a talk down memory lane, 'cause the stories around here are just insane. Pirates World, the Sporto and Wolfie's too, Palm Beach to Key West, that's where we grew. These are the tales from South Florida for you. With your host, Bill Monty.
Hello, friends. Bill Monty here, and I'm inviting you to join me on the podcast, Bill Monty's Guide for Getting Older. Now, this is not a podcast about being old. No, it's about understanding the world we're growing older in, how we care for each other, how we protect what we've built, and how we make sense of the systems that are supposed to look out for us, especially when we need them the most. Bill Monty's Guide for Getting Older. It is available wherever fine podcasts can be found, and I look forward to talking with you soon.